Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tips from the Top. I'm so excited for this evening. This is Master Coordinator Jeanne, and I have the great pleasure to meet with some great friends of mine who are senior master coordinators. I believe that's your title. And they are really a good example, a great example of a couple who have built the Shackley business together. So I'm honored that Steve and Jeannie are on here this evening. So welcome.
Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're going to ask you a few questions. I know you wrote up a bunch of questions for me, so I decided I better do the same for you to make sure that we stay on track. But could you share, both of you, just share a little bit on, your why and why you both got into Shackley? So let's start with Jeannie and then we'll go over to Steve.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah. So I had very simple reasons for coming into Shackley. When you look back, I had 2 young children and I had taken a leave from teaching. I was a 4th grade teacher. And so I was home, and honestly, our financial situation wasn't so great with me giving up my teaching salary. So really, my why was to just earn some extra money. I used to tell people it's to get rid of subtotals. I just hated going food shopping and had to take things off the conveyor belt because we just didn't have enough of the money in the budget for food. So that was my simple reason for being in. It was only going to be temporary. It wasn't any big deal. And I felt I would always go back to teaching. But as I started doing it, I realized I liked being home with my 2 young children and not having childcare and not having all the other issues that come with going to work every day. And so my why really very simply was I had to figure out a way how I was going to stay home and make money at the same time. So that was my reason why.
Great.
And mine was a variation of that. And I also was a public school teacher. And after about 15 years of teaching public school, at that time, we had 2 young sons, and we had a mortgage, and we had all kinds of credit card debt. And so I knew, well, first of all, when I got involved in teaching, I never ever expected to be financially independent as a teacher. But I loved what I was doing, and I continued to do it for 34 years, actually. But I knew that we would have to create, since Jeannie wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, I knew we would have to pick up her salary somewhere, doing something. So I was looking, when I saw Shackley, I was very excited. I saw it as a good fit because the way it was presented to us, it was presented as if we weren't just selling product, but that we were teaching people. And as a classroom teacher, I just thought that was a wonderful, wonderful concept, that here I could take my teaching experience and help people at the same time and make money doing that and earn benefits. So I was really looking for more of financial security than just the ability for Jeannie to stay at home as a mom.
That brings a question. Who introduced you and how did you get introduced? Because you were 2 teachers, you were looking for something, and how did it all come about?
Well, I'd love Steve to answer because everybody always thinks I brought it home, but actually I did not bring it home. He totally gets, go ahead, Stevie, because you were the one.
Well, I was very lucky because, well, not lucky, but I had some very serious health challenges way back when, and a classroom teacher introduced me to just a couple of Shackley products. And I went on the products and thought they were pretty good. They were doing what they were supposed to do. And the same teacher and her husband, who happened to be our family dentist, asked if they could come over to our home and spend an hour or so just chatting with us and telling us a little bit more about Shackley, the products, and there was even an opportunity to earn some money. Now, that teacher friend of mine was very astute because she knew our family situation, and she was prospecting me for weeks before that. So they did come over. I got excited. Jeannie was kicking me under the table because she wasn't sure if this was for her or not. But being the dutiful wife that she was and is today, she agreed to do this. She agreed that we would do Shackley together. And I think that was important. Even though you don't need to have a partner, a spouse, or a partner to do Shackley, I was very lucky that Jeannie agreed to do this along with me, and we divided up our duties. So that's how we really got started.
That's a great point, when you're working as a couple, that you can be a team together, that you can divvy up the things that you each like to do, and you have a greater vision for what your family's going to achieve. So that's really a special message. And that's why you're so successful. Many people look at us as master coordinators and they think, oh, your life is, you're just so wonderful, or you're just so talented and you have all the ability. But I know, and there are challenges that people building the business face. So you want to share a couple of things for people out there who want to go to master, but some of the challenges that we can maybe face and how we overcome them.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. As a woman, the biggest challenge that I've always had is how to fit it all in. How to build a six-figure income, how to earn the trips, the car, managing and teaching a team, and still being a mother and a wife and a sister, and going after some of the crusades that I'm always involved in. How do you manage all that? That's been my biggest challenge, to be honest. And I just feel as women, we figure it out. We obsess about it and we stress about it and we complain to our husbands about it or whatever, and to our friends. But the reality is we figure it out, because if it's important enough, and Shackley became very important to me over time, to be honest, over time, we figured it out. And it was just a matter of prioritizing and not neglecting the things that are really important to us. And that took time to figure that out. And having the support of Steve, allowing me to learn this and get it together, to get my act together, was really, really helpful. The other thing that was a challenge for me is when people left. When they decided, I put my heart into them, I put my energy into them, I put my belief in them, and then they would either quit or they would leave. And in some cases, they passed away. And I have terrible separation anxiety. So whenever anybody leaves me, it's hard. But I learned in life over time, and really the way you have to deal with these challenges is that you just have to kind of figure out that you're going to accept them. You're going to accept this as part of life and not allow it to take away your dreams and your hopes. And as a young leader in Shackley, it was devastating to me. What do you mean you're not going to use the products? What do you mean you're leaving Shackley? You signed on the dotted line. So I think the way we overcame it is I just learned people make decisions based on their own reasons. And once I accepted that, and it was not my fault or my inadequacies, I was able to move on to the next person. And that didn't happen overnight, but it's a very important way that I dealt with the challenges.
And your commitment level was so high that you knew that you weren't going to be the one leaving.
No.
And so you just had to deal with your emotions on when those challenges face you.
True.
And I can
Yeah,
relate,
yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, on the other hand, Joanne, I looked at Shackley and had some challenges from a different perspective. Mine were kind of like personal as well, because my background as a teacher, I had no experience whatsoever in business, and Shackley was a business, and I never took a course. I never learned anything about economics or anything of that nature. So number one, I was a little uncertain of my ability to do this, which I think a lot of people at the beginning phases feel the same way. So I really had this feeling of uncertainty. I was fearful because I'm basically an introvert. I don't do a lot of public speaking. I work with our group and I coach individually, but put me up on a stage or something like that, and I go into a fib, so so I had that fear, a real fear. As a matter of fact, I spoke at your place several years ago, and I remember my heart pounding out of my chest, but we got through it, and I actually enjoyed the experience very much. But anyway, so those were the kind of things that I had to overcome. And how did I overcome them? Well, I'm sure everybody who's going to listen to this is going to realize and has heard the importance of having a why, of knowing what it is that gets you out of bed every day, that makes you pick up. I used to say pick up the phone. Well, now it's pick up the phone and get on social media almost every day now, and to communicate and to share Shackley with people. So I really focused on what really helped me was we were taught a process. We were taught a process. And I am the kind of person who, once I learn something and I know I need to apply it, I'm a bulldog. I just keep doing it over and over again. And there were ups and downs, but luckily I had uplines who I trusted, who were great, and they helped me. And of course, Jeanne was my support system. But the idea of really having a strong why helped me, but understanding the process, knowing how to prospect, knowing how to make a list, and all the kinds of actions that are necessary in our business, reassured that if I just kept doing it, we would be successful.
I mean, I have to say, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just have to say, when I hear my husband talking like that, after 2 weeks in Shackley, he went out and started asking for appointments with his assistant principal, with his, and I used to say, are you crazy? We don't even have any money. We haven't even done this yet. But he believed in the process. He knew his why. And to tell you the truth, he was fearful, but somehow the family, we were important to him. And he saw this as a way of protecting us and creating stability in our life. And I'll forever be grateful to Steve for that, because I didn't have that courage in the beginning to overcome that. But he did.
Well, those are two very clear points. And this is why I love the tips from the top, because those things don't change. Faces may change, people may change, but the why, that we say the why will make you cry. That is so important. In process, I so agree with you. We just recently completed, I redefined a lot of our process to make it more current, but it's still the process that never changes, because it's similar. So, well, thank you for that. And anybody watching this, it's such valuable information. Let me ask you, if you ever hit a plateau. There's always a time when you're going really, and you hit all those targets, and then all of a sudden it goes, woo, where is it going? What would you say to someone who may hit a plateau, or what have you done to get yourself off a plateau if you've ever hit it?
Oh, we've hit a lot of plateaus. We're celebrating 40 years in this business. So imagine how many plateaus you hit in your life in 40 years. Many of the plateaus came because of difficult situations in our family that we had to deal with, and we had to kind of take a step back. But I always believed, and it's true for us, that if you put the work in, even if you take a step back, it's just like an engine, it keeps going. But in my case, I can't speak for Steve, but in my case, when I hit a plateau, I just went back to what I love to do, because I felt like when I hit a plateau, it's because I was hitting the wall. Either I didn't have the right skills, so I had to improve my skills. And it's even true now. Social media is out there. There's a lot of people my age who are saying, okay, well, it's a young person's life. Well, no, it's my life too. I got to learn it. And my team keeps saying to me, how do you do that reel? And how do you do that? I don't know. In fact, today, one of my reels hit 10,000. I cannot figure out why when I do a good reel, it gets no, hits. And when I do a terrible reel,
Instagram, or where do you place your reel?
On Instagram. Instagram.
Like fishing, and it's like, there's the reel. It's going.
I haven't found anybody, but the point is, I learned, and what I loved about social media is I'm like a nosy body. I kind of like knowing what everybody's doing and what they're not doing. So I guess the point is I fall back on what I love to do. And in the early days, I loved skincare. So whenever I hit a plateau, got a group of women together, did a skincare, felt good, filled my cup by helping them and making them more beautiful, right? That seemed to get me over it, because it's so easy to go in a hole when you're in a plateau. And it is really hard to dig yourself out of a hole when you get in that
You
hole.
don't want to get in a
You don't
hole.
want to get in the hole. So you got to do whatever
why
you
it's
can.
good to go back to what you love. And I
Right.
certainly that's how I handle it.
Do you really? That the same way?
Oh yeah, because it's easy when you just feel overwhelmed with life.
Yeah.
And you feel like you can't go anywhere. I have to go to things that I love and give me joy.
Yeah.
Then I feel that, I see a little bit of sunshine out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Steve, what about you?
Well, once again, I have a different perspective. When I feel that our business, or me personally, is plateauing in our business, it really motivated me to do more of what I know works. Really, I didn't lay back. I didn't procrastinate. I was determined. I had determination. And I think what really worked for Jeannie and myself was our persistence. When a lot of people around us quit for whatever reason, we never even considered it. We just knew that this is something that was beneficial for our family and that it was just going to make me even drive faster and more determined. That was one thing. However, the other thing that I learned was I've always looked at Shackley like a marathon, but more like an obstacle, and like an Iron Man. I don't know what there's a TV show where people go through all kinds of obstacles and challenges,
Yeah.
And so every time, Shackley, we build in phases, and we build, and we have failures, and we have successes, and then ultimately we hit a wall. Jeannie used the term, we hit the wall, and she used the word skill. And that was exactly what I was going to say. When you hit a wall, it's time to reflect and see if you need to skill up to improve some part of your business. And then that helps you either get over the wall or around the wall or through the wall. And then you go to
find a window.
Yeah, finding a window, that's even great. Or you get to the next wall, and maybe there is a window. If not, you have to learn how to skill up to get to the next phase of your journey. So it's really a matter of learning how to cope, learning how to skill up, and being determined. That's how I personally was able to cope with everything.
Guys, great stuff. I always said quitting was never an option for me. I loved it too much. Even my housekeeper, she was in a miserable situation with who she's working for. I said, don't work for anybody. Don't do anything that you don't love to do. And she goes, well, not everybody loves their job as much as you do. And I said, it's true. I still love Shackley so much. Okay, next question. What suggestions or steps would you give a new builder or couple just starting their Shackley business journey? Jeannie?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so being a teacher, I was a fourth grade teacher. Steve was an art teacher. So I'm like, following the curriculum. He was a little bit more creative than I was. So that being said about my personality, I think when I have a new person, I really like to go to what's called the back office in Shackley. And I know a lot of people have pros and cons about it, but I'm not one to recreate the wheel. I want to spend my time with people. And the back office has a wonderful, what I call onboarding process. You just, type in onboarding and this 3, I think, pages come up, and it just tells people how to get started, from setting their date for their launch party to, writing down what their why is, to making their list, to kind of figuring out what their times are. And I just really go through that with people. And I find that if I have a system that I go through with people, then when they have people, they'll do the same thing. So I would say if a new person, first of all, I want to make sure they understand the plan, want to make sure they understand the benefits. But then I'm going to say, I'd like to sit down with you and let's get started. And how do we get started? We'll do some onboarding. We'll launch your business. I like to use the word launch your business. I don't know what other people use. And that's really what we do. And I find on our team, the quicker you can have a launch get together or a launch party or whatever you want to call it, because you never know if someone's going to last, right? They get excited right away. But then the minute they hear a no, all of a sudden they cannot get anywhere to the next person. And if they're very comfortable on social media, part of that onboarding is letting people know, creating some curiosity that they have found something that they're excited about, or they're using something that they're excited, not to what I call smash Shackley onto the people, but to kind of introduce Shackley that way through social media. So there's kind of like two tracks that I use, with a more traditional person who's not on social media, but wants to build, and then people who are sort of like have their feet in both places. So that's how I get people started. I just follow the plan that is set in that onboarding situation.
That's terrific. Very simple, which we have to keep for everybody that's new, and just follow that onboarding and, you know, just get your feet wet. And then, of course, we handhold a lot of times to encourage them.
Yes.
Steve, would you want to add to that?
Oh, sure. First of all, Jeannie and I come from different places in Shackley. She's the classroom teacher, and she likes to follow that curriculum. I, on the other hand, would rather sit down with a person, particularly a new builder, and get to know them a little bit more, you know, hear their stories, hear their problems, hear their successes in life, a little bit about their family. But what I really feel is a very, very, very underplayed component of our business is two things. Number one, procrastination. A new builder comes in, usually they're very excited, but they're also, like I felt at the beginning, they're fearful, they're uncertain, but they are excited. So I really feel it is so important to build belief. Build belief, because without belief, anything and anyone is going to stop you. That will be a major stumbling block in your business if you don't have belief. Belief in products, which is, we always talk about, and we all did this, Joanne, right? We Shackleyized our home. We changed all of our consumable products over. I tell new people that's key. If you don't use the products, it's going to be impossible for you to be passionate about anything in this business. So about believing in the products, believing in yourself, believing in me, trusting your upline, because it really is, if you don't know the person that well, it's blind faith at first. It is. You have to put your trust in that person that has sponsored you and taken the time to do that. So building belief in the company, and today it's easier, more so than ever before, because the field is so connected to the home office people. They are so visible, where years ago, we hardly knew who the president and vice president of Shackley was. Today, they're doing trainings, they're doing meetings, Mondays, Wednesdays. There's a tremendous connection with the home office.
But they don't have the heart and the soul.
No, they don't.
Our people that we bring into it. I mean, if they ever see this, no offense, but you know, the truth is that we build relationships that are familial, and we really care. Like Jeannie said, if they leave, I feel, you know, have I done something? I don't want you to leave. I've really invested in you. And so belief is a really important thing. Speaking of belief, I'm sure you guys have tons of belief, because just share a little bit of the benefits Shackley has given you and your family after these 40 years that you've been in it.
Right. Well, Steve, what benefits? Because I just came back from a trip, so I know what one of my benefits is.
Well, Joanne, I thought you'd never ask, you know. Everybody, well, I don't know, many people when they come into Shackley, like applying for a job, they want to know, you know, what is the income and what are my benefits? And initially that got me very excited. As a matter of fact, when I think of when I think of benefits, Joanne, I think of two types of benefits. I think of tangible benefits, which are the initial benefits that get people excited and get them involved in Shackley. But then there are the intangible benefits, which really makes people lifers in Shackley, which keeps them in the business. So for us at the beginning stages, of course, the trips were exciting. You know, it was the first time other than our honeymoon that Jeannie and I had traveled outside of the country. We've had literally 9 or 10 cars that Shackley has paid for. Now, maybe you're not a car person, but what was exciting for me was it was my first car that had electric windows. It didn't have crank windows, you know, so that was exciting.
I got heat.
You had heat.
We got air conditioning.
Yeah, we had air conditioning. So the cars were
Oh,
exciting to
Lauren
me.
must think we're really old.
That's okay. Listen, you never know.
Well,
So the,
no, we were poor.
You poor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. I was driving a 1976 Fiat sedan, and I had to. It used to freeze in the wintertime. I used to have to take a hair dryer to defrost the carburetor to get it started. But anyway, so the cars were exciting to me. The trips, of course. But
Where
of
did
course,
you go on trips? Like, what were some of the
oh well,
most beautiful
Jeanne can
trips?
spend a lot of time talking about the trips.
Well, our
because-
first international trip was Amsterdam. And
Right.
when we went to Holland and we went down, the canals, I swore I would never miss another trip, ever. And also to go to these hotels. I mean, we were the type of people that camped, we were intense. And here we were in these luxury hotels, luxury meals. I mean, it was just beyond something that I just couldn't imagine. We've gone to France, we've been to Bora Bora. I remember the Kardashians went to Bora Bora, and here we were in the houses that the Kardashians were at, and it was like the full floor. Remember, Stevie, you could see the ocean. I mean, it was the Pacific Ocean, and the fish were down there, and you swam off of it. I mean, it was just remarkable. We've been to New Zealand, we've been to Australia, we've been to Canada, the States. We've really been blessed, with Shackley, the travel program.
Yeah.
And the best part right now for the travel is to go with our teams. We have 20 teams in Mexico, and to see brand new people at entry level, being treated like this, it's just fantastic to pay it forward. So I would say, Steve, the benefits of travel and the car and the income. I mean,
Well, that's important. Income's
Of
very
course.
important.
I think our first year in Shackley, our 1099 read about $10,000. And I think for about the last 28 years, because of the organization we've built and because of our persistence and all the things that we've discussed, we were able to build an organization of literally thousands of people who are either using Shackley products and many of whom are building Shackley businesses or who already have. But we've been earning a six-figure income now for about 28 years. And, when we started, Joanne, we were a young couple with a young family. Now, fast forward 40 years, we're in a different place in our lives. So we are now senior citizens, although we don't think of ourselves as senior citizens, but we don't have to really concern ourselves about retirement, about living on a fixed income, because of the residual income that Shackley provides us each and every month for so many years. So that's just really a taste. And I'm sure you've experienced the same kinds of benefits and so many other people in Shackley. It isn't just us. You can see we just started like everybody else, just like you did. It's really a great benefits package that Shackley offers us.
Yeah, and the money was a big deal for us. We are not shy about that. After 25 years of teaching, we were doing more with our Shackley business than we were after 25 years of Steve teaching. And I remember just last year, Shackley posted our picture with like 4 other people. I mean, when we used to come in here and say, look at these people who are earning $1 million, they're millionaires, we just never saw ourselves like that. When you're trying to figure out how to go food shopping, you really don't have a vision of $1 million earner, right? But now when they listed us as the last 5 years being the top $1 million earners in the company, I'm like blown away by it, because we really were not superstars at all. We were just really very consistent, very determined, as Steve said, but we needed to do this. A lot of people play with Shackley. We couldn't play. We had to make this thing work. Otherwise,
Right.
I had to go back to work, and I didn't want to do that, So I
That's why
think that
quitting wasn't
it.
an option.
No, it wasn't an
We
option.
didn't want to go to a 9 to 5, and we were
No.
entrepreneurs and fell in love with it.
No, it's true.
Other people who are watching this have been around for quite a while, and yet they haven't achieved the stuff that we masters are talking about and are so excited about. I don't think it's ever over for anybody to be able to get into momentum and start building. So what would you say to some of the people who have been around a while but haven't gotten their feet planted into the success mode? What kind of guidance do you give some of those people in your downline who say, why isn't it happening for me? What do I need to do?
Jeanne, you
Any-
want
I-
to, you
No,
want me
why
to?
don't
Oh,
you?
no,
why
no
don't you
problem.
take it?
There are people, we all have people in our businesses that have been with us 5, 10, 15, 20, for us, even longer. And they are directors, and sometimes they see other people on our team or other people in the company growing and exploding their businesses, and they tend to not feel good about their business. And so, first of all, we congratulate them, because number one, longevity is a great thing in this business. You know, a lot of people can't do what these people are doing just by really maintaining their business. So that in itself should be congratulated. But what we really encourage people to do, Joanne, is we encourage them to stay connected to their uplines, to stay connected to our team,
Right.
to participate in Zooms or meetings that we have, whether we're doing them, their upline is doing them, or the company is sponsoring them also. I think just staying connected is very, very important. But as Jeanne said earlier, what we encourage people to do is to find out what they really are passionate about in this business. For me, it was always the opportunity. I always showed the opportunity. Yeah, okay, that's why you are where you are today also. You know,
I
you
love
can't
that.
make somebody a master coordinator unless you get them excited about the opportunity. So that's what I would say, is make sure that if you feel like you're not where you are, you have to evaluate. Are you still sponsoring people in? You know, are you still active in the business? If you aren't, listen, we didn't become master coordinators overnight. It took us years to become that. Okay. So I just think that knowing what you are passionate about and doing it consistently and staying connected is probably the essence that I would be able to share with people who are at this point, feel they want to grow their business. And really, it's, you've heard it say a million times, the decision is just between their ears. You have to make that decision that you want to grow and look for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay, whether it's from your own team or outside of your team, Shackley people are always willing to give you some really great advice.
And I think that is happening too in the field development with Danelle Delgado.
Right.
That's
Danelle.
helping a lot of reviving people who've been
Yes.
around and kind of are saying, you know, sometimes you see these people who go so fast and furious when a lot of times, I mean, I know it took me quite a while to understand what I needed to do in order to become a master. Jeanne, you want to add anything to
Yeah,
that?
I was just going to add a story because I love stories. And I think sometimes recently, I know this gal who's been a director for years. I would say probably about 25 years. And somebody that she had introduced, a lot of people have been introduced to this person, but somebody that she introduced to the products like 14 years ago became like a hotshot director in 1 month and then reverted, was no longer a director because life got in the way. She had kids, her parents got ill. And just recently, last November, this person who was under this one director, who's been a director for 20 something years, decided that she wanted to build a Shackley business again. And she came back, she went through the Danelle training, which just kind of like opened up her mind. But more importantly, she was a different place in her life. Her kids are in college, the parents, she's no longer a sandwich generation. Anyway, this young woman, Amber, spoke on the Mission Possible this week. And she like became a director in 1 month again, doing 5,000. She has like 3
Amber.
builders. Amber's great. And Amber was in Shackley 14 years ago. So her sponsor, because she didn't quit and she hung in there as a director, and Amber, because she continued to enjoy the products, was always, not ready for Shackley. So I just feel that you never know. I remember Angel Torres said, you never know if you quit or give up. The next day you would have found your master. And this woman, Amber, to me, is going to be a master one day. But, it took a while. So I just encourage all of you. You've all touched people. You've gotten them as customers, as distributors. You've taken care of them. You've loved on them. Don't give up, because some of those people, if you keep in touch with them, the timing's going to be right and they're going to be your next master. And after this happened with Amber, I'm more convinced of that than ever before. So that's my advice to those of you who haven't
Excellent.
quite found your person yet. They're out there.
Exactly. I know I had the good fortune of talking to Amber. She
Yes,
reached out to me and it was fun because you could see that burning desire. And
Unbelievable.
if it took her 14 years to get to that,
Yes.
who cares how long it, but you know, if you quit, you're right, you don't get to see it and you don't get to benefit. My upline left the business and I became a master and then they came up under me.
Oh,
So because
wow. I wish that would have, our sponsors left too, but they haven't come back under us, have they, Stevie? But they always, they're very happy for us. They're very happy.
Yeah, well, of course, of course. Well, gee, I'm just so overjoyed. The wealth of information that you've given us today will be very helpful to the field. And where I am in my Shackley business now is I also want to give back. I want to give back to the Shackley field. Shackley's given me so much that I look forward to helping anybody that also wants the benefits that we've talked about so enthusiastically. Great information, great teaching. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Our
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for asking us, Joanne.
Yes.
It's always a
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.